بردی صلوات
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
نعرہ تکبیر،
اللہ اکبر،
نعرہ تکبیر،
اللہ اکبر.
نعرہ رسالت،
یا رسول اللہ،
نعرہ رسالت،
یا رسول اللہ.
نعرہ حیدری،
یا علی،
حیدری،
یا علی.
حسینیت
زندہ باد،
حسینیت،
زندہ باد،
یزیدیت
مرد آباد،
یزیدیت،
مرد آباد.
برائے تاجیل ظہور امام بلندتر صلوات.
اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد.
شجاعت کا صدف مینارہ الماس کہتے ہیں.
ماشاءاللہ.
کردگار وفا، مشکل کشا، کہ جنہیں شجاعت کا صدف مینارہ الماس کہتے ہیں اور غریبوں کا سہارا بے کسوں کی آس کہتے ہیں. ارے یزیدی سازشیں جس کے علم کی چھاؤں سے لرزیں اسے ارض و سما والے سخی عباس کہتے ہیں. اسے ارض و سما والے سخی عباس کہتے ہیں. صلوات.
اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد.
شکر گزار ہوں اس خدائے وحدہ لا شریک کا کہ جس نے مجھ جیسے بندہ حقیر، بندہ ناچیز کو قوت گویائی عطا کی. اور نازا ہوں اپنے مقدر پہ کہ اس خدائے وحدہ لا شریک نے زندگی کی ان ساعتوں کو اس عظیم اور مقدس بارگاہ میں حاضری کے لیے چنا. مومنین، یہ عشرہ مجالس تو جناب سیدہ سلام اللہ علیہا کی
اللہم صلی علی
محمد وآل محمد
مناسبت سے اس بارگاہ میں جاری ہے. تو جی چاہتا ہے کہ پاک سیدہ سلام اللہ علیہا کے قدر بزرگوار کی خدمت میں نذرانہ عقیدت پیش کروں.
بسم اللہ.
اس سے پہلے کہ ان کی شان اقدس میں کچھ کہوں، دل میں اور زبان میں لکنت محسوس کرتا ہوں کہ ثنائے محمد میں کہنا سکوں گا، میں کہنا سکوں گا. ثنائے محمد میں کہنا سکوں گا، میں کہنا سکوں گا. نوکے زباں کو مشک و عنبر سے دھو کر علوم و خلاق کے دریچے میں کھولوں اور یادوں الفاظ میں لڑیاں پروں. عقیدت کی مالا میں دل شامل کر لوں. جرت کہاں شان احمد بیاں ہو، ثنائے محمد میں کہنا سکوں گا، میں کہنا سکوں گا.
ماشاءاللہ.
ارے سمندر جہانوں کی سیاہی بنا لوں اور درختوں کی نو قلم بنا لوں. جرت کہاں شان احمد بیاں ہو، ثنائے محمد میں کہنا سکوں گا، میں کہنا سکوں گا. صلوات.
اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد.
مومنین، آج ہم یہاں پہ اس بارگاہ میں اس عظیم مقدس مقام پہ جمع ہے تو جی چاہتا ہے کہ کچھ کہوں اس بارگاہ کے حضور کہ جو ہیں باعث تحلیق کائنات، افتخار موجودات، نازش انبیاء، شہنشاہ دوسرا، مختار ارض و سما، محبوب خدا، ہادی عالم، مولائے کل، دانائے سبل، شافع محشر، خاتم النبیین، حبیب رب العالمین، اکمل العارفین، اعراف السالکین، احمد مجتبی یعنی حضرت محمد مصطفیٰ صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم.
اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد.
ماشاءاللہ. ماشاءاللہ.
کوہ فاراں سے جو توحید کی اٹھی تھی گھٹا، کوہ فاراں سے جو توحید کی اٹھی تھی گھٹا، ابر رحمت کی طرح چھا گئی شہروں شہر. اس سے پہلے کہ اس عظیم ہستی کے حضور کچھ کہا جائے، انہی کے گھر سے ہدایت و رہنمائی کے وہ چراغ نمودار ہوئے جنہوں نے اس جہان کی ظلمتوں، اس کے گھٹاٹوپ اندھیروں کو ہدایت و رہنمائی کے چراغوں سے منور کیا۔ آج ہم یہاں جمع ہیں تو ان عظیم ہستیوں کے حضور نذرانہ عقیدت پیش کرنا چاہیں گے کہ جنہوں نے اپنا سب کچھ قربان کر کے اس اسلام کی لاج رکھی، کہ جو خود بن گئے نشانۂ جور و جفا مگر، خود بن گئے نشانۂ جور و جفا مگر، انسانیت کو ظلم سے بیدار کر دیا۔ ارے پردہ نثار کر کے محمد کی آل نے رسوا یزید کو سر بازار کر دیا، رسوا یزید کو سر بازار کر دیا۔ صلوات علیہ
اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد۔
اور جب بھی ہمیں اپنی زندگی میں جہاں کہیں کوئی مشکل کسی قسم کی پیش آئی تو ہم نے اس عظیم ہستی کو پکارا کہ پڑی مشکل لیا نام علی اور ٹل گئی مشکل، پڑی مشکل لیا نام علی اور ٹل گئی مشکل، مٹائے فاصلے ناد علی نے اور ملی منزل۔ ارے ید اللہ نے کیا ہر بحر طوفان خیز کو ساحل، نہ ہوتا ذل حیدر ہم بھی ہوتے یا کسی قابل۔ ارے ولی اللہ نے تو ہم سے ہر ممکن وفا کی ہے، بتاؤ تم نے بھی اجرت امامت کی ادا کی ہے۔ ارے پکارا ہے علی کو ہم نے اکثر ذات کی خاطر، پکارا ہے علی کو ہم نے اکثر ذات کی خاطر، اور بھلایا قول حیدر رسموں اور عادات کی خاطر۔ پکارا ہے علی کو ہم نے اکثر ذات کی خاطر، اور بھلایا قول حیدر رسموں اور عادات کی خاطر۔ اور صلوات پڑھیے گا۔
اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد۔
اور بنو وہ امتی ناجی جو ہوں کردار سے اپنے، بنو وہ امتی ناجی جو ہوں کردار سے اپنے، اور نکالیں جس کو پھر نہ مصطفیٰ دربار سے اپنے۔ بنو وہ امتی ناجی جو ہوں کردار سے اپنے، اور نکالیں پھر نہ جس کو مصطفیٰ دربار سے اپنے۔ لیکن اگر ہم اپنے ارد گرد حالات پہ نظر کریں تو دل دکھتا ہے کہ آج اس مظلوم کربلا کے ماننے والے بھی اپنے ارد گرد ہونے والے ظلم، اپنے ارد گرد ہونے والے جبر سے آنکھیں بند کیے ہوئے اس کے خلاف آواز اٹھانے سے کتراتے ہیں۔ اور میں یہ کہنا چاہوں گا کہ حسین ابن علی مظلوم تھے، لیکن دکھ اس بات کا ہے کہ حسین ابن علی مظلوم تھے، مظلوم ہیں اب تک۔ حسین ابن علی مظلوم تھے، مظلوم ہیں اب تک، کہ ان کی معرفت سے کلمہ گو محروم ہے اب تک۔ اور یورپ میں جب پردے پہ پابندی لگی تو اس کے بارے میں ہے کہ تیری چادر چھنی لیکن تیری عزت سلامت ہے، اگر تیری نظر میں زینب و کلثوم ہیں اب تک۔ جو مختلف قسم کی پابندیاں لگا کے اسلامی شعار کو دبانے کی کوشش کی جاتی ہے، اس کے بارے میں کہا۔ صلوات پڑھیے گا۔
اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد۔
برس کے صلوات۔
اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد۔
اور جب بھی کبھی ضمیر کا سودا ہو دوستو، ایک پیغام کے ساتھ، کہ جب بھی کبھی ضمیر کا سودا ہو دوستو، قائم رہو حسین کے انکار کی طرح، قائم رہو حسین کے انکار کی طرح۔ صلوات پڑھیے گا۔
اللہم صلی علی
محمد و آل محمد۔
تاکہ ظہور امام کی رضا پائے باز بلند صلوات۔
اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد۔
just introduce me as Maulana. I'm not a Maulana, I'm not an alim, I'm not a dhakir, I'm just simply a student who is passing on knowledge that I've heard from other ulama. So with that, please recite salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله قاصم الجبارين مبير الظالمين مدرك الهاربين. والحمد لله الذي نور قلوبنا بشعاع أنوار محبة العلوية وجعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية المرتضوية الذي فرض الله محبته ومودته على العربية والأجمية. والصلاة والسلام وتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي اسمه في السماء بأحمد وفي الأرض بأبي القاسم محمد. وأبي الجوهرة القدسية البتول العذراء الممتحنة الصابرة المظلومة فاطمة بنت محمد صلوات الله وسلامه عليها. وبعلها أمير المؤمنين وقائد الغر المحجلين وبنيها الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
رحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقتليهم وغاصب حقوقهم ومنكري فضائلهم ملعونين. أما بعد, for the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Marziya, for the enlightenment of the graves of your marhumin and of the graves of the Shuhada and Siddiqeen, for the hastening and safety of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam Arwahun al-Fida, and for the safety of anyone around the world that says Ya Zahra, recite aloud salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who is Rahman and Rahim. Alhamdulillah alladhi nawwara qulubana bishu'a'i anwar muhabbati al-alawiyya. Praise be to that Lord that enlightened our hearts with the rays of the love of Ali ibn Abi Talib. وجعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية المرتضوية, and placed us amongst those that accept the vilayat of Murtada. الذي فرض الله محبته ومودته على العربية والأجمية. Allah has made that love, that mawaddat, compulsory on both Arabs and non-Arabs alike. It's an honor to be back again after yesterday, and all the good feedback I got was very nice, and I'm humbled that the brothers benefited from it. And we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives me first the ability to act upon those things which I say, and then also to you to have the ability to act upon those things that you hear. For the acceptance of that dua, please recite aloud salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
We have gathered in these days to remember a personality, to remember that lady that is known by many names, to remember the one they call Muhadditha, Al-Mubaraka, Al-Tahira, Al-Zakiyya, Al-Radiyya, Al-Mardiyya, Al-Zahra, Al-Siddiqa, Fatima Zahra, Salawatullah wa salam.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
She's known by many names. She's known through many ways. But however much we try, we will never be able to understand her greatness. In fact, these names that I just read out before you are those 9 names that are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam al-Sadiq salawatullah
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
has a hadith. He says, لِفَاطِمَةَ تِسْأَةُ أَسْمَاء عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. He says, Fatima has 9 names that are at the level of indiyyat, the level of being with Allah. فِي مَقْعَدٍ صِدْقٍ. They are at the station of righteousness. عِنْدَ مَلِيكٍ مُقْتَدِرٍ. And they are with the most capable king. That woman whose names are at the level of indiyyat, not her personality. The Imam is simply talking about her names. Her names are with Allah. Then what would the essence of Fatima Zahra be like? What would her wujud be like if just her names are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Before she enters into this world, while she is still within the womb of her mother, she converses with her mother. One day Rasulullah comes home and sees that Hazrat Khadija is speaking with someone but cannot see anyone in the room. He goes up and says, Khadija, who are you speaking to? Hazrat Khadija turns around and says, Ya Rasulullah, al-janeen alladhi fi batnihi yuhaddithuni. That, oh Rasulullah, this fetus within me, it speaks to me. Why? Because the women of Mecca had boycotted Hazrat Khadija for marrying Rasulullah. They had boycotted her, so she was alone. Allah gave the ability to Sayyidah Fatima to speak from the womb, to give her mother company. And then when it comes to the birth of Sayyidah Fatima, when it comes to that time when she is about to be born, there is no one around Hazrat Khadija. Instead, Hazrat Khadija narrates that I saw that 4 women appeared within my room, all of them tall, all of them with the features of the ladies of Banu Hashim. I became scared. I said, who are you? They said to me, do not fear. We have been sent by Allah in order to help you through this time. And they say that they helped Hazrat Khadija through the delivery. When Sayyidah Fatima enters this world as a baby, the hadith says that the first thing that she says are the shahadatain. The first thing she says, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wahdahu la sharika la, wa anna abi Muhammad Rasulullah. The first thing that she says. But then the hadith continues. They say the child turns to each of the midwives, each of those 4 women, and addresses them each by name, sending salams upon them. And who were the midwives that Allah sent for Fatima to Zahra? Who were those ladies? First she turns and says, salams upon you, O Sarah, the wife of Ibrahim. Salams upon you, O Kulthum, the sister of Nabi Musa. Salams upon you, O Asiya, the wife of Fir'aun. And salams upon you, O Maryam, the mother of Isa. Those women that are mentioned in the Quran as the women of Jannah were the midwives of Fatima to Zahra. This is Fatima to Zahra. This is her station. But yet, this same daughter of Rasulullah is seen within the court of Abu Bakr, asking for her right. She's been called there to defend her right, and she delivers a khutbah, a sermon there, commonly known as khutbah al-Fadakiyya, the khutbah of Fadak. And over the next few nights we will touch on this khutbah, we will analyze it, we will take parts out of it and see how we can implement them within our lives. We won't be able to cover the whole thing because the khutbah itself is very long, but then the eloquence of Ali Muhammad is known by everyone. That there is such depth to the words of Ali Muhammad that it will take years and years, volumes and volumes have been written on this khutbah delivered. But before we actually start on the khutbah, it's important to know what exactly is Fadak. You know, it happens that sometimes, as the Shias of Ali Muhammad, we get born as Shias. You know, we're born as Shias, our families are Shias. And so what we do, we know all the things on top, but the root level things, you know, we don't know. We know that Bibi Fatima went to ask for her rights of Fadak. But we don't know what Fadak is. We don't know where Fadak came from. We don't know what it consisted of. You know, we want to debate with the brothers of the Ahl Sunnah. In Bukhari it says this. In Muslim volume 2 it says this, page number this, that this person did that. But ask me to define to you or to explain to you why I believe in Tawheed, why I believe in one Allah. Nothing. I can't. I'll tell you because the Prophet told me. But logically I can't tell you. I'll tell them from Tirmidhi and I don't know who else. I've memorized everything. But come and prove to me the ma'sumiyyat, the infallibility of the Prophet through the Quran. No chance. Imamat through the Quran, I don't know. Why have we selected Adl from all Tawheed, Adl Nabuwwat? Why Adl from all the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Recite Salawat. Why Adl of all of those sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Why have we selected that sifat? No idea. Why Qiyamah? Why is this a core belief? We have no idea. So it's important that we go into the depth of those beliefs that we have, those things that we claim to believe in. You know, sometimes we think, I don't need to learn about that. You know, when we go deeper and deeper, we realize, in fact, we don't really know all that much about our own faith. So Fadak, what was it? Fadak was a garden. It belonged to the Jews of Medina. After the Battle of Khaybar, which took place in 7th Hijri, they came to the Holy Prophet. After Khaybar was won over by the Muslims, the Jews sent a delegation to the Holy Prophet. And they said to the Holy Prophet, look, we'll continue to live here, we accept the Islamic State, we'll continue to practice our religion. And then obviously the Prophet gave them the laws about taxation and all of these things that they had to do if they wanted to live as non-Muslims in a Muslim government. And as a peace offering, they give the Prophet the land of Fadak as a gift. Because the Muslims had not fought over it, no one had a right. And because they gifted it to the Prophet, it was only the right of the Prophet. He could do whatever he wanted with it. So as soon as the Prophet gets hold of this land, Jibreel descends down to earth with the ayah of the Holy Quran, وَآتِ ذِي الْقُرْبَ حَقًّا, and give to your near kin their rights. Rasulullah turns to Jibreel, says, Jibreel, what does this mean? Who are my kin? What are their rights? The angel replies that your kin is referring to Fatima, and the right is Fadak, give it to her. So then the Prophet of Allah gives this garden to Sayyidah Fatima. And over a period of 4 years, she elects workers upon it. They start to work on Fadak, they cultivate Fadak, and all the money that is gained from Fadak does not come into the house of Ali Muhammad. In fact, from outside it is distributed into the poor. And to give you an idea of how large Fadak was and what its yield was, they say that 1 year after they'd harvested all of the crops, Amir al-Mu'mineen went to sell the fruit and he gained 40,000 dinar. At the time, the going rate for a slave was 10 dinar. So if you put it into perspective, this was the yield of Fadak. And this is the reason why the enemies of Ali Muhammad could not bear for the Ahlul Bayt to have this place. Because they knew if the Ahlul Bayt had it, even though they weren't using the money for themselves, they were distributing it to the poor. But still, they were fearful that Ahlul Bayt would take this money and maybe do something and come to power and move them all out of power. And this is the reason why Fadak was so important for them to take. So, they come, this 40,000, the narration continues that, Amir al-Mu'mineen gets this 40,000. And the poor people of Medina, they hear about this, so they line the streets. And Amir al-Mu'mineen gets this 40,000 dinar that he had and distributes each and every single dinar amongst the poor people, equally, to all of them. He comes back home and says, the Fatima salamullah alayha says, Ya Ali, did you sell the fruits of Fadak. And Imam Ali says, yes. She said, how much? He said, we got 40,000 dinar, the money. And Amir al-Mu'mineen says, Fatima, as I was walking down the street, the people had lined, and you know, I can't bear it that they look towards me and I have something to give them and I do not give them. So I distributed the money equally amongst all the poor of Medina. Now, I don't know, there's some of the brothers, when I told them this story, they were like, if I did that, my wife would kill me. If I came home and said, look, I gave all the money to the poor people, they'd kill me. But this is Sayyidah Fatima. Sayyidah Fatima smiles. She's happy with the actions of Amir al-Mu'mineen. That was the size of Fadak. I gave you the idea, to tell you, 10 dinar was the going rate of a slave in the slave market, and Fadak 1 year yielded 40,000 dinar. This is why they were so afraid. This is why they needed to take it off Al Muhammad. They had to grab hold of it. So what happens? 11 Hijri, the Prophet dies. We all know, whoever comes to power, he sends over his mercenaries and his people over to Fadak. He sends out all the workers of Sayyidah Fatima and says, this is now the property of the government. They come back to the house of Al Muhammad. They tell Fatima what happened. Now, the books of history here narrate that there were a number of negotiations. Not just this one khutbah that we know, but there were a number, and at a number of occasions he refused to give back Fadak. And the reason for it was that he said, the children of prophets do not inherit of them. And on a number of occasions, Fatima said to him, this hadith no one has heard, only you have heard. No one else had heard of this hadith. It was just him on his own that had heard, and no one dared speak against him. So anyway, this continues to happen until it gets brought to the court and the masjid. And then there's a number of points here, even on a judicial side of it, that how this was in fact illegal or un-Islamic. Number one, he is the person claiming the land and he is the judge as well. It doesn't work in Islam. Second one, he was claiming the land, but he was ordering Sayyidah Fatima to bring witnesses. If you want something, you're the one. If I have something in my hand, and you want it Islamically, you must bring the witnesses to say that this is yours. Because at the moment it's in my hand. But he was doing the opposite side. Bring your witnesses. And then obviously, the third was he was basing a hadith that only he himself had heard. No one else had. So, everything happens and they come to the masjid. They say that Sayyidah Fatima, she came out from the masjid, she came out from her home surrounded by the women of Banu Hashim, covered in different layers of clothing. Then a curtain was drawn across the masjid and she gave her khutbah from behind there. From all these layers of hijab. And there's this modern movement and people, nowadays, they try and do the whole, women can lecture to men in the masjid, it's okay. Because look, Sayyidah Fatima did it. We have these liberal movements that are coming in more and more. Everyone's becoming slightly more liberal. They, it's okay to mix, it's okay for women. These are big issues. We need to be aware of them. We have so many issues, so many external forces attacking our communities, coming against the fabric of our communities. We need to be very aware and alert to them. So anyway, the khutbah. What we'll do today is we'll go through the main points of the khutbah. I probably won't have time to get through everything, but we'll go through the main sections as we can pick them out from the khutbah, and tomorrow inshallah we'll see how far we can get as well. So the khutbah itself starts with the praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The hamd and thana, as is always the case with Ali Muhammad. They always start with the hamd of Allah, the praise of Allah and the glorification of Allah. After this, Bibi goes into the description of Tawheed. The second paragraph, she discusses Tawheed, goes into the descriptions of it. And inshallah, in the coming nights, we'll touch upon that as well. Then we go on to the part where we will be focusing on the most, which is the philosophy of ibadat. There Bibi gives somewhere in the region of 20 to 21 ibadat, and she gives the philosophy of each of them. Why we pray, why we fast, why we go to Hajj. All of these things, Bibi Fatima there explains it at that. Then she comes to a point, again, she turns to the people. After addressing, she turns to another group of people there, and reminds them that who she is. You know, she says, remember that I am Fatima. Remember my father is the Holy Prophet. And then she starts the second. She reminds them, you know, how they were before the coming of the Prophet. She says to them, do you remember how you were before my father came? You were drinking water from the side of the roads. You were hanging up meat, because at that time they used to hang up meat in the sun until it turned dark and it was dried out. That was the meat that they would eat. She says you would eat that sort of meat. You were despised outcasts, fighting against each other, killing each other, until the Prophet of God came. And then he guided you. And then she turns to the Muhajirin and Ansar and Abu Qahafa, Abu Bakr at the time, and she addresses him the khutbah as that. And she turns to him as well and says, will you continue to usurp my right? I am going over this very in depth. I'm just going over it very quickly. She says, will you usurp my right? And he says, but I've heard this hadith of the Prophet and this. And she says, subhanallah, because my father would never go against the book of Allah. My father, and then comes some of the greatest eloquence of, she begins to list the ayat of the Quran, one after the other, talking about the inheritance of prophets and how other prophets, how their children had inherited of them. And she lists a number of ayat like this, but even then, no one listens, and she's left with nothing but to return home. And in these next nights, we will inshallah focus on the middle of the khutbah, that philosophy of the ibadat. You know, where Bibi talks about it, and we'll go over it briefly. I haven't got time now to go into the Arabic of it all. But she starts off with saying that Allah has made belief to be a purification for you from polytheism. To save you from shirk, Allah created iman. He made prayer, salah, in order to save you from pride, to stop you from becoming proud. And we will go into more depth in the coming nights. She said zakat was bestowed upon you, or was ordered from you as a purification of your soul and as a cause of increase in your rizq and your sustenance. Fasting to increase your sincerity, to make you more mukhlis, increase your ikhlas. Pilgrimage, the Hajj, in order to be that construction for your religion. Justice, a harmony for your hearts. Obeying us, the Ahlul Bayt, a management of the nation. She talks about the obedience towards Al Muhammad. That when you obeyed us, Allah made our obedience a way to govern the nation. And our imamat, our leadership of us, the Ahlul Bayt, a safeguard from disunity. And just here, I'll make one point here. That here, Hazrat Fatima Salamullah Alaiha is saying that this safeguard, or this imamat that we have, is to save you from becoming disunited. Now, I believe in imamat. There are loads of other people that believe in imamat. Everyone, every single Shia center in the world believes in imamat, but yet why are we so disunited? Where is our unity? We're at opposite ends. He's a Vilayati, he's a Usuli, he's a Akhbari. We're always against each other, but everyone's working for Imam to come. Yeah? Everybody's waiting for Imam to come. He's from this guy, I'm not sitting with him, I'm not discussing with him. We're so disunited. He's from this family. And that's a classic one as well. He's from this family, I'm from this family, our family run the idara, our family, not this idara by the way, just the center, our family do this, our family do that, we can't let that family, we all believe in one Imam. Bibi Fatima is saying that our imamat has been created in order to stop you from being disunited. So if we find ourselves in a state of being disunited, what does that mean? We have not understood imamat. We are not following the Imams as they wanted us to. Because if we had, there wouldn't be this disunity amongst us. She continues. She says, jihad, the struggle, a way of strengthening of Islam, both the internal struggle and the external one, but more so the internal one. Patience. Why has Allah told you to be patient? To help you in going towards receiving that divine reward. Recite salawat, please. In order to bring you towards that divine reward. Amr bin Ma'ruf, telling people to do good in order to increase public welfare. Nowadays you do Amr bin Ma'ruf and no one wants to hear. First thing you want to do, you tell someone he's doing something wrong, he wants to punch you in the head. we want to fight. And our most passionate time, the time where we should be the most united, is time we're most disunited, that's Muharram. Imam al-Hussein went out in order to unite the Ummah. He said we become disunited come Muharram. But these are side issues that we can ponder over. Kindness to the parents, a safeguard from wrath, maintaining close relationships with one's kin causes a longer life and the multiplying of descendants. Retaliation, qisas, it's for sparing blood of souls, sparing souls. Fulfillment of vows, when you promise someone that you will do something. You know, we have hadiths concerning the fulfillment of vows. Our Shi'as are the ones that fulfill their vows with the Muslim and the non-Muslim alike, regardless. If they promise a Muslim something, if they promise a kafir something, they will do it. It doesn't matter to them. They will fulfill their vows. These are our Shi'as. Completion of weights and measures. You know, when you're selling things, being there is a cause for preventing the neglect of someone else's rights before I infringe on someone else's rights. And if we have time in these next couple of nights, we'll talk a little bit on the rights of mankind, the rights of our brothers, the different rights. Forbiddance from drinking wine and exaltation from impurity, to take you away from impurity. This is why Allah denied or is saying to you it is haram for you to drink wine, to move you away from that impurity, take you away from atrocity. The question then comes to mind, what about the one who sells it? What about that Shia that sells alcohol? What about that Shia that allows alcohol to be drunk in his premises, in his restaurant, in his takeaway? He allows it, he facilitates that haram. What is he doing? Facilitating haram. He's still getting, if people are coming to his place to eat in his restaurant because they know they can drink, but money is haram. Ulama are sitting here, if I'm wrong, they correct me. But we have these issues. People don't know. People don't know. We're selling alcohol, we're buying alcohol, left, right, and center. Avoiding slander is a veil from curse. To not slander, in this day of Facebook and text messages and everything, all you got to do is make a Facebook group for someone to slander them. Our Shias are the ones that do not slander people, the Imams say. And this is the veil from the curse of God. It's to save you from being destroyed. You slander someone, then the rest is on Allah. Abandoning theft is a reason for deserving chastity. And Allah has also prohibited polytheism so that one can devote himself to his lordship. Has stopped shirk for that reason. But even after all of this, And in the coming nights, we will discuss more in depth. I'm sorry, I've actually gone over my time now. But in the coming nights, we will discuss more about this. But hearing this, even when you hear the Arabic, it's a whole different side to it. The beauty in which Sayyidah Fatima puts this. But yet, even after hearing this, they continue to oppress her. Even after this, they continued to oppress her. Even before she came to the masjid, her father had just passed away, and instead of giving her condolences, they came to her house with fire. Instead of coming to offer Ali Muhammad condolences, they came and they set fire to the house of Sayyidah Fatima. Imam al-Hasan appears in the dream of an alim. He says that, "Oh alim, why do you not recite my greatest masa'ib?" He says, "Oh Imam, I recite that you were poisoned." He says, "No, recite my greatest masa'ib." He says, "Imam, I recite that your body was struck with 72 arrows." He says, "No, this is still not my greatest masa'ib." He says, Imam, I recite that your body was taken back to the house and given ghusl and kafan twice. Imam, I recite that you were not allowed to be buried next to your grandfather." Imam says, "No, recite my greatest masa'ib." The alim turns to the Imam and says, "Imam, I do not know. Tell me what is your greatest masa'ib." Imam says, "Tell the people that I was 7 years old and the Muslims came to my door with fire in their hands. They set fire to the house and they crushed my mother Zahra between the wall and the door, and I was unable to do anything." على لعنة الله للقوم الظالمين فسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our sins. Pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive the sins of our parents. Oh Allah, those of our parents who are alive, give them long lives. Oh Allah, those of our parents that have left this world, give them a place next to Ali Muhammad in Jannah. Oh Allah, those who are ill, give them shifa'ah. Oh Allah, those who are in debt, clear their debts. Oh Allah, those who are in education, make them successful. Oh Allah, keep our ulama and our maraji at the head of our institutions. Give them long lives. Oh Allah, keep safe the Shias of Ali Muhammad all over the world, that those that are being oppressed. Oh Allah, destroy their oppressors as well. Oh Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time. Allow us to be amongst his true muntadirin. For the acceptance of these du'as and any other du'as that the brothers and sisters have brought to the majlis, please recite 3 loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali